Hi Rita, welcome to the show.
Hi Susie, thanks for having me here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm actually very excited about talking to another study mum who is in the absolute thick of it. So let's get started by maybe telling us a little bit about your situation and what you're studying, and also why you just decided to study in the first place.
Okay, so I'm a mum. I have two boys, one teenager and one who probably thinks he's a teenager already but isn't there yet. My husband works long hours in the city, and I was working in a job that, it paid the bills, and that's really what it did, but it wasn't fulfilling. So a few years ago I decided, okay, I needed to make a change, and I needed to make a change for my youngest son as well. He was really struggling with having to be dropped off at school, stay there really early, then go to that after school care, and that really didn't fit with him. So when I decided we need to pull him out of that, and he needs a mum who can take him to and from school for a short period of time, I thought, well, I can't just sit at home. That's ridiculous. I do need to kind of reinvent what's going on here. So I decided to go into counselling, which has always been a passion of mine. I've always been someone who's loved that side of life of being able to help people. So I decided to go in and start studying counselling. I did start off with my holistic certificate in counselling. I've been a meditation teacher for many years, so it was very much a natural fit to go down that way. Then decided that I needed to take that further, diploma, bachelor level. And then I decided, looking at all the challenges my son was facing, to actually add studying naturopathy and nutritional medicine onto that as well. So,
just a little bit of an addition.
2 advanced diplomas and a bachelor's degree all at once.
Okay.
That's a little bit of a challenge. And also, I still need to bring in money. So started running, I said I was a meditation teacher, so really ramped that up, started running my own business. I'm a Reiki healer, so
great.
Brought that on board and everything as well. And that's really where I'm at now, is that whole, I've got my own business. I'm in the middle of doing placement because I'm in the final part of that bachelor's degree. I'm still doing my naturopathy and nutritional medicine, and that will have a placement component coming into it next year, so it does mean, working for free. Still being a mum, still being a wife, throwing some martial arts to keep me grounded.
Sounds like you're going to need it.
And that's my days. From, a nice early hour to a nice late night, everything gets jam-packed into there. But the study came about really because my son needed a different way. The system didn't fit him.
Okay.
And rather than try and make that organic child fit into a square box, I needed to work better with him. So my passion is very much about helping other children. And
so that's your why you decided to study.
That's my why. That's why the nutritional medicine and the naturopathy and the counselling and the Reiki and the meditation, all of that combined together to bring about change that some kids need, rather than just, here's your label, live with it, and here's the best that you can do. So I want to change that up for some people. And
wow.
There is some other ways to approach this, and it's challenging, it's daunting.
So how far along are you with your actual degree at the moment, or degrees, I should say?
Okay, so my bachelor's degree will be finished at the end of this year. So I've got a countdown to the 16th of December, so I'm very excited.
I bet that will feel amazing.
It will, but I'll actually be overseas because I booked holidays. I actually won't be in Australia for the last 4 days of that. So I'm going to have to really make sure my schedule's on track, because I'll need to get everything in time. I'm really looking forward to that. It's something that I wasn't sure I was ever going to really achieve. When I started out on it, and I wasn't even going to extend it to the bachelor's, and it was another student who actually said to me, "Can you please make sure you do this?" She said to me, "I've really enjoyed working with you," and she said, "And come on this journey with me. And I was sort of like, really? Don't want to do that? And now she's actually postponed a few things due to circumstances in her life, and I'm loving it.
Great.
Loving it, especially the coaching aspects that's coming board with her, things like that. So, and there was the naturopathy and the nutritional medicine. That one will flow into next year, and that'll be finished by the end of, hopefully by September next year, that one will be all.
Okay. So stepping back a little bit, you're doing all that. What strategies do you have in place to, I mean, you seem pretty confident, it's all happening, it's all rolling. So what kind of strategies have you put in place to obviously be at this point?
I think one of the things that I've been really blessed with is having meditation as one of my core strengths. So when things do get absolutely chaotic and the whole household is in turmoil, and, you know, there won't be a time when it isn't like that. You're always going to have some time where chaos hits. But
absolutely.
If you can just take a step back from the chaos and realise that this is just one moment in a 24-hour day, and that one moment could last an hour, it could last 5 minutes, it could last, you know, it could last all afternoon, but it is only one moment, and you can get through that moment. And I'm a big advocate for teaching my clients to take a step back in and be within where they are in that moment. Because if you're feeling chaos, acknowledge it. Say, yes, I feel like things are out of control right now. How can I bring that back? How can I gain a little bit of perspective on that? And I don't like to use the word control, because that puts us in a fighting mode to really, you know, have everything in balance. And sometimes being out of balance is okay.
Yeah. Accepting that moment. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
It is just about that, and just recognising it's one moment, and it won't be that way forever. So if I get a bad day, you know, if there's 3 assignments all due, well, then there's 3 assignments due, and once they're submitted, they're not due anymore.
Yeah,
it's just a moment.
And there's always a deadline at some point in time. It has to go through, regardless of what you've done and how much you've achieved. It has to go there. So yeah. So for people who, I know I've actually been trying to practice meditation a little bit more regularly. And in the beginning, I have a very active mind, so it was very difficult for me to even just sit for 3 minutes. I started with 5, and I thought, oh, that's too much. I'm just going to start with 3. And I did that. And then at other times, I obviously, depending on the frame of mind that I'm in, I might be able to do 10 minutes. But what advice would you give somebody, a busy mom who's feeling overwhelmed, that is not really familiar with meditation, but, when your mind's so crazy, how do you get started in that? It's nice to envision you like sitting there for hours, like in this serene, blissful kind of condition. But in reality, I think meditation is maybe society's given it a little bit of stigma, and made it kind of unreachable in the sense. So what's a reachable way of being able to meditate for a busy mom?
So first of all, I say recognise that meditation isn't just sitting there in silence. Okay, you don't have to be sitting there. If you can take your kids to the park and you're walking, you can do a walking meditation. You can take yourself into that zone while you're walking.
Okay.
You can take yourself into that zone while you're in the shower. And in fact, I have to say the shower is probably my favourite place to meditate. One, because I do know it is going to be my space. Anybody with kids knows that they will find you anywhere.
Yes. I was just thinking that.
Thankfully, the shower, I do get my time. I tend to take some aromatherapy into the shower and have an aromatherapy shower. And what I do in that meditation is I just allow myself, just for the time I'm in the shower, I'm only going to have a 5-minute shower. I've got things to get done during the day. I'm not going to stand in there for 20 minutes. Yeah. I just drop a few aromatherapy oils onto a face wash and let it steam up, so you've got that nice awakening. And depending on if is it a morning or an afternoon or an evening shower, depends on what oils I'll use. But I stand there and I just allow myself to smell the aromatherapy oil. I allow myself to just feel what it's like to have water running over me. If there's a noise from outside the shower, and sometimes that can be my boys going, I just allow myself to go, you know what, that's a disturbing noise, and let it go.
Yeah.
The water feels beautiful and refreshing. Let it go. And it's more about, we don't need to get these big epiphanies during meditation. I think some people do think that that's what's going to happen. No, it's about being in the moment. Just what's going on. If you're itchy, if you've got an itchy arm, can you just notice it and go, that's what an itchy arm feels like, and then let that feeling go? You know, you could be standing there washing the dishes, meditating, just taking yourself into the moment. It's not about sitting there in the beautiful Zen or lotus position and you know, chanting away, and that's great. Look, if you can get to that, that's fantastic. But if you can lie in bed for 1 minute extra in the morning and just notice how your body feels, notice where any aches and pains are, and just breathe into that space and let go of that pain, then you're doing it.
Wow. Yeah. No, that is a big thing. I think just taking that time to actually, well, I guess for mums especially, when, you know, amongst the chaos, just taking that time just to breathe, if not anything else, you know, just to literally breathe, isn't it? So, no, I love that. I love that idea. And I think, that's something that I would definitely, you know, we all have to do the dishes. So that's a great spot to at least start.
And you know what? For those who have got kids, and even those that haven't, a great meditation to start with is a muscle relaxation meditation, where you do just lie down, clench those toes, count to 10, breathe out, softly relax. Work through each muscle group in your body, going right up to your head, and just, you know, your last one is clear the mind, let it go. You can do that inside a minute. If you can teach a child to do that as they're lying in bed, if you can teach them about clenching the toes, breathing it out, you know, relax. You know, you might want to pull your shoulders up and then let them relax down. You're actually going to get your child to go to sleep a lot easier as well, because
that's a great tip.
Becomes calmer.
Yeah.
And what that also does, especially for us adults, is we begin to recognise where we hold our tension. And we can recognise when tension's creeping up on us. So when the stress of, you know, okay, I've got this assignment due, I've got 3 clients, I've got to get my kids to martial arts, then I've got to go to martial arts, dinner's got to be cooked, washing's got to be done, house got to be tidy, and somewhere in there I'm going to pretend to be a good wife. And you start to go, if I feel my shoulders creeping up, I know that my tension's coming and I'm holding it, and I can learn to recognise that and let go of it. And I think that for anybody who's got a lot on their plate, that's a great tool. But if we can teach our kids that as well, that's a great calming down mechanism that they can use to help them in life. And rather than get to 30, 40, 50 and go, oh, I'd like to be enlightened, have some meditations and downtime, let's work it from the get-go. Let's work it from the beginning.
Sure, yeah. So you talk about meditation, and before you mentioned schedules, I get the impression that you have pretty tight schedules, or?
I do. I do. I know that pretty much every afternoon of the week, bar Friday. Friday is my free for all.
Right.
I make sure that I have a free for all day, because the family needs to still be organic to adapt and just be able to throw in things. So Friday becomes, you know, the movie night, they go to the park, we might go see friends. Friday night is just our family does whatever they want, you know, collectively together, of course. But, you know, during the week it is quite hectic. It's getting 2 kids off to school, and before I even get them off to school, I'm usually up doing a bit of pre-work on what I need to get done. So I'm a big believer in writing a list
Okay.
Protecting the list. So we all become, especially I think women, we become great at avoiding the list because, our friend rang up and there's a crisis and they need to have coffee with us. So we drop everything and we go.
Yes.
And then we get back home and everything we had on the list is not done, and then we beat ourselves up about not getting the list done. So rather than, okay, I'm going to rush to your aid, know when it's okay to not answer that telephone, when it's okay. Like if you've got to have coffee, yep, friends rang up, there's a crisis. Okay, great, look at my schedule for the week. Listen, I can meet you Wednesday for coffee. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Right? If it's an absolute emergency, of course, go to it. But sometimes they just need to vent.
Yeah.
And then your schedule goes behind. And then who are you going to vent to?
Yeah.
So my day starts relatively early. I actually love 4 a.m. in the morning. I know that sounds really, really crazy. But whenever I'm on a big push to write anything, 4 a.m. is my time.
Okay.
And I get up and I write because I've got the peace of the house. I can sit there with my cup of coffee. I watch the sun break. It's rejuvenating to me.
Can I ask what time you go to bed to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning? Because I'm sure there's some study mums that are night owls out there that just go, oh my God, I only just got to bed not that long ago.
And that's what I would say. Some mums are going to be the other way, where their most productive time is going to be at night. For me, bedtime between 10 and 11 is usually quite normal for me. I'm not the biggest of night owls. I never was when I was at school. I would always do my study in the morning. So it's just how my clock works. And I think it's important for every mum out there to recognise how their clock works.
Sure, yeah. No
good me coaching a client and saying, right, well, if you schedule a 4 a.m. wake up, and they're like, oh, really? It's not going to work. But if I say to them, well, if you can get that done between 10 and midnight, and they're like, yeah, that works for me. That's my most productive time. So know when you're productive. Play around with your schedule for a little bit to know when you're productive. For me, it's about, if I know I've got something big on, if I've got to get a lot of stuff done, then I'm going to utilise that 4 a.m. because I can work well with it.
Yeah, and just adding to that too, I have been and probably still am majority a night owl. But I trained myself to be that way because I thought that was the only place and space and time that I could, have peace and quiet to study when my son went to bed. But I would have burnout, like after a while. And so I really have been working hard to try and, change that around. And I've been getting up at 5 a.m. and I would relapse, I'll get up at 5 a.m. for a week and I'll get all this stuff done. And then I'll be like, oh no, but I've got to do this. And so assignment will be due. So I'll stay up late at night again. And it can be done even if you are a night owl, I think. And the benefits of actually getting up in the morning and being more prepared for your day. What do you think about that? I think just that preparation.
And I think if you can set the tone for your day and have that preparation, then you'll find that your day will naturally flow. And a lot of the times I might write the night before what I've got to get done the next day. What's really important, what needs to be done, what's non-negotiable. Schedule that in. Then I can go to sleep knowing that my day is already prepared. So I'm not lying there then tossing and turning, going, oh, I've got to get this done, I've got to get that done. And that can be a real challenge. We tend to not switch off that brain. So, if we can do that little bit of muscle relaxation before we go to bed, write our list, get a good night's sleep, and then get up and just have the day prepared and visualise how it's going to go. Visualise that today this is what needs to happen, this is what I've got to get through, these are the time frames I'm going to do it in. Again, always being organic enough that if an emergency appears, we can deal with it, without it throwing us into chaos.
Yeah.
And knowing that, as you said, you've been able to do that week's worth of it, but then something else come up, so you've reverted back to another system, and that's okay. That's why I say play with your schedule, because it can be changed. It can work slightly differently. Find out what works for you. What do they say? It's like, if you give it 21 days, then you're likely to know a yes or a no answer.
Whether it's for you or not.
Whether it's for you or not. I know for me, 4 a.m, get up and get going. Get the kids going, get the kids off to school, see my clients, finish off whatever, put in my study time that I've got to do, write assignments, pick kids up from school, get off to martial arts, come home, feed, back off to martial arts, come back home. So, with that, I work in a way that I go, okay, so my week's worth of meals, what are they? Let's have them already organised and prepared. So today, I will go and cook dinner for the next couple of days and have it prepared and put in the fridge.
Okay. Yeah.
No, because I've got time today in my schedule to go and do that.
Yeah.
So I'll schedule in some time for that. So, yesterday my son and I, we made muffins for him to take in his school lunchbox for the week.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like a whole month's worth of meals. Like you said, if you've got the time right now, then you can basically go ahead and make a few meals ahead of time. And get you through to that next moment where you have a spare minute again. So you've been talking about sort of where you are now, and you sound very organised, and you've got a pretty good flow going with study and work life balance. But in the beginning, can you take us back to the beginning where I'm sure it wasn't always like this?
It was chaos. It was absolute chaos.
What was your biggest obstacle, do you think, in the beginning that just drove you absolutely insane and, potentially brought you borderline of like, what am I doing? Am I going to continue with this?
What my biggest obstacle was allowing me to have permission to reinvent myself. Mm-hmm. Because I'm a mum. Those kids need me. They when I started this journey several years ago, both my kids were still in primary school. One of them was just, we were going through the kindergarten year 1 stages. So really not self-sufficient children in that sense, still needed a mum there. And so giving myself permission to have time to actually do study and being okay with saying to my children, stop, I need you to go and do this now while mummy attends to something else.
And how did you get to that stage? How did you get from feeling that mummy guilt and then owning that and saying, well, okay, I'm going to take this time?
I think what really happened is, for me, it just became to the point where I was literally pulling my hair out at one stage. I remember having several assignments due, and I had got myself into a routine where my husband, thank God for him because he was a lifesaver, he would know that assignments were due and he'd go, do you need me to get the kids out? And so he would have been at work all week, and he works ridiculous hours, leaves the house well and truly before sunrise and doesn't get home till after sunset. But he would take the boys out because I would have everything on the back burner regarding my study until the very last minute. And so I'd be trying to pump out 2 or 3 assignments on a Saturday, Sunday. And I'd literally sitting at my computer from 4 a.m. till midnight and back it up again the next day to get them in. And I was like, what am I doing? Why am I now doing this for? Because I'm not creating a better life for me. I'm missing out on my family when we can all be together. And I was ready to throw it in. At that stage, I was ready to throw it in. I was ready to just go, you know what? No, just go back and get some job that just pays the bills and don't worry about it. And it was when I said that to myself, just go back and get a job that pays the bills and don't worry about it, that I caught myself in that moment, because I thought, I'm such an advocate for children going out there and living their dream.
Yeah.
I'm such an advocate for kids not having to feel like they've been pigeonholed, like what was trying to be done to my son, and being told that they can't achieve. You just can't achieve that, so you're going to have to just do this. And I thought, if I don't do this for me, then how can I ever inspire my children to follow their dream in life?
Right. So being a role model is really important. Yeah. That comes up a lot. Yeah.
That was the time where it hit me, and I went, if I throw this in, I have taught them that if it gets too hard, quit. If you can't see a way around it, quit. If you're feeling that it's stressful, quit. You know, and that it's just easier to quit and do something you don't like than go and enjoy life doing something you love.
Yeah.
And life is too short to go and do that, you know. I wish I had known this information back when I was a teenager.
Yeah. So following those lines, would that be, you know, along those lines, but if there's something else that you can add, is what would be the best advice that you could give, say, a new mum who is thinking about studying? I think the ones who are studying now are in the thick of it and can probably really relate to everything that you've just said, and they may be like, oh, I want to get to that stage, or they might be like, yep, I'm there, that's fantastic. Yeah. But for the new mums who haven't started yet, not too sure what they're going to be in for, and, you know, some of this stuff probably sounds quite scary when we're talking about it. It's like, oh my gosh. But what advice would you give them?
Look, the first thing I would do is be asking them their why. What do you want to achieve from it? Because, to be honest, if your why isn't big enough, you'll find obstacles along the way. You really will. So make sure that your why, and your why doesn't have to be life-changing. It just has to be big enough for you. You know, lots of people get mixed up with that premises. You don't have to want to change the world. It just needs to be what you need to change for you. And then if you're scared about it, if you're daunted about, you know, how is this going to happen, well, there are heaps of places where you can go on and just do one subject. You know, you don't have to do full-time. Like I've taken on a double full-time load worth of study. That's crazy. I fully admit that, but I'm really a time-driven, just get me to the end type person.
Sure.
But for others, just step into one subject.
Just to begin with, yeah.
Just step into one subject and mess around with your routine. Find out what works and connect with other people. So, like, get onto things like Study Mum and see how other people have started. And, yeah, they've pulled their hair out. We all have. But if you can get on and find support networks that help you and that, you know, you can come and vent to if you need to, or you can just watch someone and go, oh, yeah, they were there. Okay, there's a lot to hear, and this is how they did it. Do things like that. You know, if you've got a partner, talk to them about it. Talk to them about how this is going to change the schedule at home. It's important that everybody's on board with it. But for those with really young kids, you know, and I'm talking, you know, below school age kids, it's going to be harder to say, hey, you've got to leave mummy alone for now. But that's where a partner coming on board and taking the kids out and spending some time with the kids, even if it's just in the back garden or down to the local park. I'm not talking about spending loads of money. That can help form some really great bonds there as well.
Most definitely.
Yeah, and just, you know, give yourself permission to do it. That's as mums, as women, we do not give ourselves permission to do things. We still have a lot of hang-ups about that, and it's just give yourself permission to take it one step at a time. And before you throw the towel in, before you go, no, this is not for me, stop and go and speak to some other people who have been there, connect in with them and ask them for some help or some guidance or advice, because sometimes you just need to vent to push through the next thing. If you don't do it now, in 10 years' time, that time will have already passed. So even if you set a plan and you're going to just do one subject at a time, and it's going to take you 10 years, or you can do one subject and push through and keep going for that 10 years, or you can get 10 years down the track and go, gee, I wish I hadn't thrown it in 10 years ago, because now it's another 10 years I've got to add.
Right, yeah, exactly. No, that's,
you know,
yeah.
Set the goal. It doesn't matter how long the goal is going to take. The time is going to pass anyway.
And enjoy the journey, I think, as well. There's a lot to enjoy with studying, and I know personally that time is my time. I actually find it quite relaxing at times, which is a bit crazy now. It wasn't always the case as well.
Exactly.
that having that time for yourself. Sometimes I'm just like, oh yes, it's study time. Dad's got my son and they're going to the park, and, just getting there and just going, okay, I'm glad I've got an assignment to write because now I've got 5 minutes peace.
And you know what? Sometimes I think when we take on some study and things like that, it helps to give us back our identity.
Definitely, yes. And I think there's a time frame as well, where, I don't think there's any right time or age your kids should be when you start to study. It's really about when that time is right for you. If something's not right, if something's not, you're not completely happy in yourself, I think study can be a really great tool to, move you forward with that and rediscovering yourself, like you say. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? You might have a whole bunch of people, friends, family, or whatever, who go, what are you doing that for? Oh, my goodness. Do you know what? Don't worry about that, because that is them fearing what you changing is going to mean for them. It's not about you. It's about how do you studying, how does that change the dynamics for your friendship or your relationship with them? So don't worry about any of that. Don't worry about the naysayers or any of that sort of thing. If you've got a want and a drive to go and do it, go do it. And if that just means doing a little community course down at your local TAFE, go do it.
Yeah.
Just do something that is for you.
Well, like you said, you started out studying, was it a diploma or a certificate? And then
I started out at a certificate level.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Yeah, and I guess that's a great way, doing a certificate or a diploma is a really great way to that stepping stone, and also discovering as well where you want to go with it, whether that's the right, career for you, and then building on top of that as well.
Exactly. And for those who are sort of looking, okay, I want to jump into university study or things like that, remember, it might have been a few years since you've actually put your head in a textbook.
Yes.
It's hard. It's hard to get back to that.
Or used your head at all, really. That hasn't got to do with the Wiggles or Farm and Sam, so,
Exactly. I know that there's plenty of places where you can go on and do little bridging courses and things like that, and just go take the time and do one. Test the waters.
Great advice.
If you're looking at reinventing your career, go and speak to someone in that career. So go and speak to someone. So, if you were looking at becoming a life coach or a counsellor or a healer, along the path where I'm going, you go and speak to someone in that field. How did you get there? What are the pros and cons? What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? Go on. People will have a cup of coffee with you.
Most definitely. I have done it many times myself. They will. You just, if you don't ask.
And, it's the same. If you don't ask or you don't try, the answer is no.
That's right. And 9 times out of 10 people will say yes to go and have a chat about something like that. So, I mean, I've done it many times. It definitely is beneficial, and there's no obligation in it.
Exactly. Just go and have that coffee with them, sit down and just ask them, how did you find the journey?
Yeah.
How was it for you? Look, sure, a lot of them have gone straight from school into that career, and that's fine. But you're going to find the mums who have, gone from school, done one thing, become a mum, and are starting to reinvent themselves and have heaps on their plate, but they can help you through it because they've got the experience, they've been there, they're walking the path that you want to start walking along.
Most definitely, yeah. Right. Well, on that note, I think we'll leave it here today. I would love to have you back on the show, and maybe we could do like a guided meditation for mums or something like that. There's a million things we could do, but it's such a pleasure talking to you today, Rita. And you have a coaching business of your own. Where can people contact you?
So if people want to look at what I do, if they just go on to www.ritamaher.com, that will bring up my business, which is Stepping Stones for Life, because I do believe in just taking those small steps. You can make it. And from there, I've got different services available. You don't even have to sit face to face. We can do it just like we're doing here, recording, Skype, Zoom. and they can have a look at what's available on there.
That's fantastic. And I will put that website in the show notes on the studymum.com.au website as well. So, yeah, if anyone is interested in speaking to Rita or just, you know, having a quick chat and to see whether coaching maybe for you and help you, maybe choosing what you'd like to study, yeah, definitely check those show notes out on the Study Mum website. And thanks again, Rita. Thanks for your time today. And we look forward to speaking to you again, having you on the show again.
Thanks, Susie. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Take care.